All right, guys, I'm back. Yeah, so we finished up the last video on the records, and so I'm going to go over those records right now again. MLB was 728 and 467. That's 1,195 games, like I said, 61%. Locks was 645 and 359. I'm not the smartest mathematician in the world. I know numbers are important, but still, here it is, 645 and 359. You round it off, you're at 350, 450, 550, 650. You're 300 games, just about 300 games over 500. You got max plays, 706 and 467. Rounded off, 450, 550, 650. 250 games, 706, 250 games over 500. You know what I mean? So we're not talking like 9, 10 games over 500. You got college hoops, 410, rounded off, 400, 644, 650. You're talking 500, 600. You're talking 250 games. I told you, college hoop, money, fruit, right? That's where you want to be. 250 games over 500. NBA, 354, 214. 354, 214, right? I told you the other night. I thought it was a little harder than it is. The NBA, the fruit's there. I did a hell of a job in NBA. You're talking 200, 300. You're talking 150 games over 500. And the NHL, which I didn't get to you the last time, the other day or tonight, 286 and 263, 73, 83, 23 games over 500. So I lied. I'm not a liar. It's not 25 games over 500 like I said the other day. It's only 23 games over 500 or whatever the hell it is. It's 86, so it's 73, 83, 23 games over 500. So those were the records. So, the body of work is there. Like I said, people that are new, anybody that's new that wants to go to Instagram, all my work is there. All right. So, but the main thing I really want to talk about is, the method of my madness was the college basketball. All right. I really want to talk about that, and I really want to talk about scheduling and really keeping an eye on what's going on in these leagues and where these teams had just come from. You go back. I said 6 games, but I even go farther back. You gotta know all the teams. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know all the divisions. You gotta have, as the season goes along, the playoff picture is starting to come together. But all right. So let's just say, for a while there, you thought maybe Trout had a shot. He might sneak in the back door and get him into the playoffs. The guy's getting older. He hasn't had a chance to play in the playoffs a little bit, so you're keeping an eye on the Angels. But the fact is, you had Oakland and you had other teams that were making moves. You had to keep an eye on San Diego. You had to keep an eye on Arizona. You had to keep other teams, and you're seeing day to day who's winning, who's losing, and they're just losing ground. So, but the point is, the Angels, even if they were losing ground and it didn't look like they were making the playoffs, like I said about keeping fannies in the seats, they're only going to lose so many games before Trout's going to win a game and hit 2 dingers for the night. You know what I mean? So let's say they were on the road, the Angels, and they lost 3 to Seattle or Texas or somebody, and now they're home. You look at the pitching. They're home. Lost Trout, lost 3 in a row. They're playing. Let's say they're playing Seattle again, and there's no way Seattle's coming down to Anaheim and they're gonna win the series. They're just not. I mean, Trout's gonna win the opening night. It's a Friday night. There's people in the crowd, people drinking beer. They're making money, and Trout's gonna hit a dinger, and they're gonna sell the team, and sell the product for the night, and Trout's gonna win. It's stuff like that, bro. You don't hear anybody talk like that. You don't see anybody. You don't see anybody that's
that's seeing it that way, and that's what I'm talking about the cloth. You're just not seeing anybody that understands the ebb and flow that I talk about like that. So I win. So I lay $100 on Trout that night, and it's a no brainer. So what is it? Maybe minus 110. Well, yeah, it's like those minus 300 these guys always talk about that I play. Yeah, come on. You had Trout at minus 120. I risked $20 to win a lock pick no brainer. You see what I'm saying? But I got a piece of paper here because I tried to go over this the other night. I'm just going to tell you about a couple teams, just going down an old scratch sheet that I had. You know what I mean? And you got, you kept an eye on St. John's and Marquette. You knew the ebb and flow there. Teams even like Sacred Heart. There was, at one point, I almost thought that Sacred Heart was going to back into the tournament, man. So you keep an eye on that league and you understand what's going on, winning a game, losing a game, and then they're playing St. Francis of PA. And I see a team like St. Francis of PA, it was going to come down to them and Robert Morris, man. It was going to be, you could tell. You just got to keep an eye on it. South Carolina was on the cusp. Vandy with Stackhouse coaching down there. He hasn't been down there long enough to get his guys in. But there were nights where I played them. They were getting 15. They were getting 10. They had come off a loss or two. Stackhouse wasn't going to get buried. He was going to win. So there's nights like that where you're going to bounce back and you're going to take Stackhouse and you're going to take the 15. You know what I mean? And then East Tennessee State was going to make the tournament. You had West Virginia and Baylor. There were nights where, you just knew that whatever way it was playing that night. Well, the first time they played, maybe Baylor won. Baylor had been rolling. West Virginia went on a losing streak there for a while, and you get a feel and you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take plus 130 with West Virginia, and you might steal one there, and that's how it works, man. You got teams like Seton Hall at one point I thought could make the Final Four. They had that one player they were pubbing, maybe a high draft pick, and you had to pay attention to that team. And again, it's the same ebb and flow. It's the same ebb and flow. You had that Colorado and Oregon out there, the Pac-10. You had to figure out who was going to come out of that league. Danny Hurley coaching. He played for Duke. His old man, he got in a car accident. His career was cut short, unfortunately. His old man was a legendary coach in Jersey. Alif probably knows about all that at the Catholic school there, the Jesuit school in Jersey City, and you had to keep an eye on that with them. You had Arizona that was probably had the best team in the conference, but they were young and they were losing a little bit more than I thought they were going to. They should be losing, but they were still going to get into the tournament. And so as it came down to the end, and the league was coming around, you knew at some point they had to start winning some games. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Alabama was hot for a while. They got cold for a while, and Missouri started out a little hot. Then you get Alabama that night, and I took the money line and +3, and they win. So not only did I win the +3, I won the money line. So I mean, you have to pay attention to that kind of stuff, But there was so many more other teams, man. It was like, if you want me to give you a lowdown on the hockey, I mean, I went out on a limb around the All-Star game. I whatever point it was, and I liked the Avalanche. I liked Toronto. Toronto was a little more inconsistent, and I was starting to see teams like the Canucks, where they put the puck in the net. So I liked the Canucks out west. I liked, Calgary was sneaky. You had to wait and see how they were going to come on, but you definitely had the Avalanche, and you had a couple of those young studs with the Oilers, Edmonton. They were definitely a factor. It was probably going to end up being the Avalanche and/or the Oilers and maybe Calgary, I think. But a lot of you guys liked Vegas. I didn't really particularly think Vegas was going to get to the Cup. A lot of guys, I think, did.
But on the flip side, you had the Bruins. They got there the year before. I don't think the Bruins were going to get back to the Cup. They obviously were going to make the playoffs, but I didn't think the Bruins were going to get to the Cup. St. Louis won the year before. I picked them in Game 7 on the road. There's a dog. Again, people saying, Moretti, do you win dogs? Yeah, I win dogs. I took St. Louis in Boston in Game 7. I don't think too many guys took that. I did. So St. Louis had a shot, there's no doubt. The Capitals, man, they could have been the best team in the league, no question. You could see as the season was going along and it was getting closer to the playoffs that the Caps were starting to lose a few games. Was it in the cards for the Caps? You don't know. You don't know. The Caps could have won it all. The Caps could have definitely made the playoffs and made a run. I just didn't think they were going to win the Cup. Tampa Bay the year before, I think they were ranked number 1 in the playoffs. They got knocked out in the first round. I started to keep my eye on them again. They were getting a little hotter. They were getting a little more consistent. And they had a shot. So you had Tampa. I just thought that it might be time for a Canadian team. We've been talking over the last couple of years how long it's been since a Canadian team had won the Cup. So I was looking at Montreal there for a while. They just weren't getting consistent. So I think it was going to be the Canucks, and it was going to be maybe Calgary, but yet again, Edmonton was probably going to be the team that maybe came out of the pack with the Avalanche. But so you had the Caps. I think Pittsburgh was a little bit older. They were a tough little team. They were a tough team. They were battling some injuries, but I just think between the injuries and a little bit of age, I don't think I was going to ride. I don't think unless I saw it down the stretch, but I don't think it was going to be the Penguins. I rode the Rangers there for a while. There was a point where I knew they were set up to win 3 in a row. They did. The Rangers probably weren't going to make the playoffs. I don't think they might have, but if I had to say in the East, it was probably going to be, somebody like Tampa or the Capitals or Toronto. I like the North Stars too, and it was probably going to be the Blues. So it was going to be somebody there. Philadelphia was getting hot as well. We were going to have to keep our eye there. I was riding in Philadelphia for a while, won a few games with Philadelphia. So somewhere out of that pack, you were going to get a team. So anyway, I still haven't gotten to the clothesline. I'm going to cut the video short here. I'm going to talk about that and then maybe wrap it up for tonight. I'll be right back, man. Let me upload this video.